My guest is Bud Philbrook. He's CEO of Global Volunteers. Thank you for joining us, Bud.
My pleasure, Charlie.
Global Volunteers, I understand you started this nearly 25 years ago. Can you give us a quick explanation of what it's about and why you started doing it?
You bet. Global Volunteers is a nonprofit, non-sectarian, international volunteer organization. And we do human and economic development in communities all over the world. And we do that by engaging short-term volunteers who work on long-term development projects. And my wife and I co-founded Global Volunteers nearly 25 years ago as a result of our honeymoon. We spent a week of our honeymoon in a rural village in Guatemala. That's what my wife wanted to do. We also spent a week of our honeymoon at Disney World, which is what I wanted to do. But out of that, we realized that short-term volunteers could make a difference. And so we decided we would do one trip a year for our friends. And it just got out of hand.
So your wife, why did she want to go to Guatemala and do volunteerism? I mean, what does she know about the opportunities for that?
Yeah, it wasn't the opportunity. She wanted to do something significant on our honeymoon. We were going to do a Caribbean cruise. We work on a windjammer, and the passengers actually are part of the crew. But one evening before we were married, we went out to dinner, and she said she didn't want to do that because that was the time of what were then called the Vietnamese boat people, people from that part of Southeast Asia, risking their lives getting on rickety old boats, sailing in the South China Sea for liberty. And they were on the news virtually every night because those boats were capsizing and people were dying. And she said to me that she didn't want to be playing on the water the same time that these people were risking their lives. Now, I tried to explain to her, Charlie, that we were going to be in the Caribbean Sea, and these folks were in the South China Sea. But that argument didn't work with her then, and it doesn't work with her now. And so instead of doing that, we spent a week volunteering in Guatemala.
Volunteering, doing what?
She's a journalist and a writer by profession, and so she helped write a brochure for a village to explain to the greater community what they were doing. And my master's is in international economic development, so I helped write a grant proposal for a trickle irrigation system.
And what kind of volunteering did you do on your portion of the honeymoon in Disney World? Okay.
Well, we had a great time.
Since then, give us a quick recap of how this thing has evolved to date.
Well, in the first year, we sent 2 teams of volunteers to Jamaica. In this year, 2007, we will send about 2,300 volunteers on 200 programs to 20 countries on 6 continents.
And these are, again, as you explained, these are short volunteerism, volunteer experiences that become part of their overall, whatever reason they're going to that country for.
Yeah, we call these volunteer vacations because the purpose is to volunteer. That's the purpose that people go. So they're short term, 1, 2, or 3 weeks, and volunteers work 40 hours a week, typically 8 hours a day, 5 days out of 7, and then they have free time in the evening and on weekends to do what a normal tourist would do. But their purpose is to volunteer and to be of service. And because of that, the whole thing is tax deductible.
What kind of host organizations or partner organizations do you work with that in concert to put together these programs?
Yeah, in every country where we work through a local host organization. Some of them are national organizations, others are local, some are NGOs, others are governments, county and city governments. We do work with some religious organizations. Global Volunteers is non-sectarian, but we work with who's ever on the ground doing development, and in some cases that's religious organizations. So, for example, in Tanzania, it's the Evangelical Lutheran Church of Tanzania. In the Cook Islands, we work with the Cook Islands Association of Non-Governmental Organizations. In Poland, we work with the Siedlce County government. And in India, we work under the auspices of several schools and hospitals.
Are they ever a private tour company that arrange these kind of things rather than a governmental community organization?
No, we don't work through tour operators. We make all of those arrangements ourselves. But we do work with travel agents who help recruit volunteers.
I just want to clarify for our audience that NGOs, non-governmental organizations. Give me an example of a few of those that you work with.
Well, non-governmental organizations would include, for example, the Cook Islands Association of Non-Governmental Organizations. So there's about 30 or 40 organizations on the island. They might be the Red Cross, the local library, an association for elderly that come together in an association. In Ghana, for example, in West Africa, we work through local schools. And in Ireland, we work with the Glencree Reconciliation Center. It's a very interesting organization. They have worked for the last 30 or 40 years in bringing the people from the North and the South together in dialogue. And we work with them in helping them facilitate that work.
And these programs are designed for any age group, part one of the question, and part two, what kind of age groups do tend to participate?
People of any age can participate on these programs. Our youngest volunteer to date is 5 years old. The oldest volunteer, 93. And it's very common to have on any one of our teams people in every decade from teens through their 80s represented on the program.
So average team group sounds like it's about a dozen, 15.
Yeah, the average would be about a dozen or 15. They can be as small as 5 and as large as 25 or 30.
And they are generally couples, families?
Our volunteers, they represent all factors. There's a lot of singles, a lot of couples. Families is a growing demographic. Grandparents taking grandchildren is a very fast growing area that we work with. Minors must be accompanied by an adult. So anyone under 18 must be accompanied by a parent or a guardian. But everybody does this. Everybody can do this.
Give me an example of rough costs. Let's take the Ireland project you described. Tell me how long that is and roughly how much that would cost without the airfare versus, say, the Cook Island one.
Ireland, the service program fee for Ireland for 2 weeks is around $2,400. That's without airfare. The Cook Islands for 3 weeks is going to be about the same. That covers all food, lodging, ground transportation, materials for the project itself. Each team has a team leader, one of our staff people, who manages that. Oftentimes there'll be more than one staff on site to facilitate and help the volunteers. With the exception of alcohol and free time activities, everything is covered. And, if I may add, for U.S. taxpayers, it's all tax deductible. Well, the lodging really falls into two categories. It's either in hotels or it's in guest houses. In 70% of our programs, the volunteers stay in hotels, tourist class hotels. And we do that because our objective is to have the volunteers go to work, not to have to struggle with their day-to-day existence. So we stay in hotels most of the time or very comfortable guest houses. The food is eaten in restaurants or is home-cooked, prepared by people that are on our staff.
We are here in Las Vegas at a travel agent trade show, the the trade show. And you are teaching them about this program. I understand earlier you say you're getting quite a excellent reception. Do they receive a commission or something participating, or is this kind of a volunteer extension to the program?
Well, we are at the ASTA trade show because we were invited by ASTA to be their Travel Agents Care national partner a couple of years ago, and so we're very involved with ASTA and the good work that they do. But the travel agents that market this opportunity, this program to their clients, receive a commission for selling it, just like they would any other travel agent product.
What percentage at this moment, how long has travel agents been part of the marketing of the program, and what percentage of the 2,500 people are generated from that channel?
We're in the very early stages. We're working very hard to get travel agents up to speed so that they can, in fact, market this. To date, the percentage is almost non-existent. We're still in that early, process. But the agents receive a pretty decent commission. It's 10, 12, and 14%, depending upon what level of training they've gone through with us and what level of volunteer numbers they can produce for us. But this is the early stages of something that we think will be very big.
Thank you so very much. Learned a lot, and wish you and the program all the best, and hope if we can help, we're here.
Thank you very much, Charlie. It's been great to see you today.